Hello, my name is Aileen Hamilton and I am the National Partnerships Manager at CERC, and I'm delighted to welcome you to our Nuffield Research Placement event this afternoon. This is an application information session and it's for teachers and young people who are considering applying for Nuffield Research and would like to know more about the programme and how to maximise their application. So I'd like to introduce Laura Gordon, who is our programme coordinator for Nuffield, and she's going to take you through an introduction to the programme and then a more detailed look at the application process, giving you some hints and techniques on how to maximise your application. We're then delighted to have Zaira Zahid along, who is an alumni of Nuffield and previously took part in a placement at Strathclyde University, and she's going to talk a bit about her project and the benefits of doing an NRP to help you applying. And then finally, Graham Ruff, who is our Head of STEM Programmes at CERC, is going to talk from a teacher's perspective. He previously was a teacher who helped young people with their applications for Nuffield, and he'll be able to give you some tips and techniques as well. And then throughout today, you can put some questions in the chat and we will answer them as we go along, and there will be a question and answer session at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Laura Gordon, who's going to tell you more about Nuffield Research Placements.
So now that Aileen has introduced you to CERC and a bit about what we are going to do today, I'm going to go into a bit more detail on what a Nuffield Research Placement is and what completing one involves before taking you step by step through the application process, so you're going to know exactly what is required from you to take part in the programme. So what are Nuffield Research Placements? It's a pretty good place to start. Well, they're an opportunity for S5 students to take part in real-world research projects that contribute to the work of the host organisation, and they allow you to build STEM skills along with many other transferable professional skills that are going to benefit you in your working life going forward. You're going to be guided through your project by a research supervisor in an area of science such as biology, chemistry, or physics, but also subjects such as earth science, data science, computer science, or quantitative social science. Topics also fall into technology, engineering, or maths brackets as well. But your project can be a combination of any of these subjects and more, as we take a broad view of what is included within STEM. So you're going to work closely with a supervisor to complete your project and get a hands-on experience of what goes into real research. You're going to be supported and you're going to be working from a project brief which your supervisor is going to provide with you, and they'll provide their support throughout. And you're going to plan your project, collect the data, analyse the data and report on your findings. Your project is going to be an authentic piece of research, and it's going to combine the work of your, it's going to contribute to the work of your host, and it's going to give you an insight into what a career in STEM is like, what it consists of on a daily basis, and what aspects of working in STEM you enjoy. By contributing to real life research projects, you'll gain loads of practical skills in STEM as you gain experience while working alongside such experienced professionals in the forefront of all their different respective fields. Okay, so before you get started, there's a suite of online modules that have been developed in partnership with the British Society of Computing, and they're designed to build essential STEM skills such as professional, research, data and digital skills, and they'll prepare you for tackling your research question. There's also a programme of optional supplementary workshops and webinars, and these are geared towards careers, guidance and advice, and then training on different key topics such as Python programming language. Okie dokie, so once you're prepped, after completing the online modules, you'll begin your research project. So the placements take place all over Scotland, and we'll match your placement to both your location and the subject of your interest. So you shouldn't have to travel too far to get to your placement, and it should be a project that you find really interesting. Placements are hosted at a variety of different locations, such as offices, museums, research centres, laboratory or fieldwork settings, and can take a variety of forms, including lab projects, computer projects, or field research. So the whole host of different types of placement provider Many are going to come from universities and research institutes, such as in the past we've had universities of Glasgow, Edinburgh, Stirling, that sort of thing. They've all been involved, and we've also had research institutes like the Roslin Institute and the Morden Institute. They've both previously hosted students as well. So you could also be placed with supervisors in local government or public sector agencies, and think tanks and market research agencies as well. Each year a number of students are hosted by providers in industry, such as the tech companies, pharmaceutical companies and engineering firms. So, as I said before, each placement supervisor will provide a project brief which will form the outline of your project. The project briefs are really varied, and as I say, we'll aim to match your research subject area to the topics of interest that you put in your application. And here's some previous projects just to give you an idea of the sort of things that you can do. So some students are always placed in industry, as I said, and this first student has worked on a project using areas of chemistry and engineering to investigate aluminium in the automotive industry. There's loads of different biomedical projects on offer, such as the ones hosted at the Roslin and Morden Institutes, where you can research infectious diseases and immunology and treatment of disease. The University of Stirling has previously hosted someone to investigate landscape evolution in their Earth Sciences department, and each year there's also social science placements offered, such as here where a student has researched what primary children know about the human body. We also have a speaker later, as Ailey mentioned, whose project last year was what characterises COVID-19 misinformation on Twitter, which she studied with the University of Strathclyde. So, once you've planned your project and gathered all the data, you're going to report on your findings. You're going to produce a scientific report of your project as well as a poster, and this is a template that you're going to be provided for your poster. As you can see, you report on each stage of your project process, from what your aims were all the way through to reporting what you found and drawing conclusions from that. So now I'm just going to show you a few examples and some posters from previous years. So this is Sarah's poster, who's going to be speaking later on what characterises COVID-19 misinformation on Twitter. She has run some data analysis and created some models there that you can see. So another example here is where a student took part in some fieldwork looking at urban green spaces in Belfast. Okay, so you can see there they've done some data analysis, they've got some reports on their findings there. And then this last one here is a student that studied the expansion of the universe, and they used a virtual laboratory to do that. So you can see there's a really wide variety of projects on offer, and this poster template is really useful for you to create an impactful poster to communicate your research. You will be communicating your research using a scientific report as well. So your poster may also be useful for our celebration event. Once you've all finished your placements, we hope to be able to get everyone together to celebrate all the amazing achievements that you're going to have made. You're going to get to meet each other and share what you did and what you found in your project. At the moment, we're anticipating this event will be in September, but we will keep you updated closer to the time. So you can get involved in all these amazing experiences for absolutely no cost at all. The programme aims to be totally as accessible as possible, and there's no cost to students or their schools to be involved in it. And to ensure that participating doesn't come at any cost to you as a student either, or to your family, you can claim travel expenses, and most students could also claim an additional bursary of £200 if you're eligible, and I'll come on to that eligibility in the next section of the presentation. So this all sounds great, right? But if you're going to need any more convincing on why applying to the programme is a good idea, here's some of the benefits of Nuffield research placements. So no matter what area of work you end up going into, you're going to gain loads of transferable skills in a Nuffield research placement that you can apply in your future studies and your career. You're going to build loads of amazing research skills, including how to plan and design research to make it precise and reliable, how to gather data, how to analyse that data, and how to communicate your findings when you produce your report and poster. You'll expand your professional networks to not only include all the people that you work with at your placement, but you'll also be part of our alumni network, including all the people who complete Nuffield research placements. And as I say, you'll get the chance to meet other students and placement providers at a celebration event later in the year. So Nuffield research placements also make a great addition to UCAS statements. They demonstrate your dedication to learning more about your subject and gaining STEM skills that you'll be able to put into good use at university. As I say, while completing your project, you'll learn loads more about your subjects. You're going to go into more depth in at school and become more specialised in a particular area. With all the skills and knowledge that you'll gain along the way, there's absolutely no doubt that a Nuffield research placement is going to enhance your career prospects, and they're also going to give you an insight into what future higher education and career pathways might look like for you. But don't just take it from me. Here are some of the highlights from students themselves. There are just some of the most common themes that I picked out from the feedback from last year. So young people enjoy being able to work at greater depth on the subject that they're passionate about. They enjoyed working with a professional within that subject area. Placement providers are at the forefront of their subject, so students get to work with really excellent scientists on cutting-edge projects. They enjoyed getting an insight into what their day-to-day job might look like if they go on to have a career in STEM. They found that really valuable. And students gain loads of transferable skills that they can use towards a STEM career, but that would benefit them in any path that they choose. So here are some quotes from a student that did an earth science placement at the University of Glasgow. So they said, working in the lab, meeting people, many interesting people, and broadening my horizons, I realised there was so much more to the world and maybe a space for me in the scientific community. So after the placement, they had successfully applied to do their undergrad degree in that same earth sciences department. And they said after that, I don't know if I would have had the courage to go to university without this placement. And I know I would not have had the exposure to have even thought to study earth science. So they've now completed their degree and they're working in earth sciences, and they attribute following that path that they did directly to completing their Nuffield research placement. Then we've got some highlights from teachers here, and that included them reporting that students have improved in their work in STEM following doing one of the placements, and that they often have increased motivation to follow STEM pathways and to pursue a career in STEM and apply for STEM subjects at university. They saw the benefit of the programme as well in providing opportunities and experiences that students don't generally get to receive in school. So some more benefits include the fact that there are a number of other awards that you might be eligible for if you've completed a Nuffield research placement, and those include Young STEM Leader Award at level 6, a Gold Crest Award, and you could also be eligible to contribute to the Big Bang Fair too. So now I just want to take you through a wee bit of a timeline of what you can expect to happen if you participate in the programme, and I'm just going to highlight a few important dates of when different elements occur through the next few months. So first, we've got a current information session. So you've already ticked off the first date in the calendar by being here, so that's really great. And then the main one that you need to note for just now is that the application deadline is the 30th of March. So that's when you're going to have all your information submitted on the Nuffield website, and I'm going to go through in more detail exactly how you do that in a minute. We're then going to go through all the applications, make our shortlist and match you to a placement provider that's going to match your interests. From May to June time, you can begin the Be Future Ready assignments. That's the online modules that I mentioned that you'll be able to participate in beforehand. And then the next portion of the programme is going to be starting your actual research project itself. Now we've got on here that they'll begin in July, but in Scotland these can also run in June at the end of the term as well. And once you finish your project, all the reporting, including the poster and report, you'll upload all that to the system. And then in September, we're planning on holding the celebration event for students to all come together and present your work. Now I'm going to just play this wee video for you here, just outlining the Nuffield research process. hopefully now I've convinced you all that you're definitely going to apply for a Nuffield research placement. You think they're all amazing, and you need to know exactly how to do that. So I'm going to take you step by step through the process so that you know exactly what to do and exactly what we're looking for in a successful placement as well. So before you even get started, you should check your eligibility to make sure that you fit the criteria to participate in the programme. There's 5 main criteria that you must meet to be eligible to apply for the programme. So here they are here. You must be over 16 and currently in 5th year. You must be in full-time state-funded education in the UK. You must have already passed a minimum of 5 National 5s at a B grade or above, and they need to include maths, a science, English or another humanities subject. There's a wee bit of wiggle room here, and if you've studied subjects that are not on the list, or if you have any doubts with this one at all, just get in touch and we'll see what we can do. You have to be studying at least one of a science, technology, engineering, economics, geography, psychology, computing, statistics or maths at higher level. And you have to be available for a few weeks over the summer to complete the placement. There's some wiggle room for this one as well as to when it's carried out, and on the website it says you need 4 consecutive weeks, but right now placements are only in person for 2 to 3 weeks, so there's a wee bit of wiggle room there as well. And then you must meet at least one of these following criteria. So you can either be care experienced, so you can having lived or currently living in local authority care. You can come from a household with a combined income of £30,000 a year or below. You need to be entitled to free school meals either now or at any time in the last 6 years. Be entitled to discretionary payments at school or college, or be the first in your immediate family to participate in higher education. Now, this doesn't include any older siblings, so this really means if your parents or guardians didn't go to university, then that would be meeting that criteria. So the first thing to do before you apply is go onto this eligibility calculator here to make sure that you meet all the criteria. I think Aileen's going to put a link in the chat to that in just a moment, or you can find the link on the Nuffield Research Placement website, or it's just that link in grey there. So you put your details in and it lets you know if you're eligible to apply, and it's best to get that out of the way first so you don't start an application and then realise that you're not actually eligible. So now you know that you're definitely eligible, you can start your application. And you can do that by going on to the Nuffield Research Placements website, which is nuffieldresearchplacements.org. And I think, again, Aileen will pop a wee link to that in the chat for you before we finish the session today. So that link there is going to take you to the homepage, and all you need to do to get your application started is scroll down to the bottom of that homepage, and then you're going to see this button here. Apply as a student for a placement. So you're going to click that one there as opposed to the apply as the organisation one. That's for the hosts that are going to take you on the research placements. So go for that top one there. It will then ask you again if you're definitely eligible to apply. And then if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, you're going to find apply now. You click on that and then you're going to create an account. You're going to register for that using your email address and creating a password. And then you add in your personal details such as date of birth, gender, contact details, your school, all that sort of thing. And then you're going to hit create account. Once you've done that, you get an email sent to the email address that you've used to sign up, and you need to click on the activation link in that, and that's going to activate your account. And then you can log into your Nuffield application portal, and then you're going to see this dashboard right here. So this dashboard shows you all the sections that you're going to need to complete within your application, and what it's going to show you what's done and what still needs work. So I'll take you through them now in order that they appear here, but when you're completing the application, you don't necessarily need to go through them in that order. You can dip in and out of different sections in whatever order you like, as long as you get it all done by the end. So you enter each of your qualifications, starting with the type, which for most of you will be National 5, and the subject and the grade that you achieved in each subject. So as I said before, when I was talking about eligibility, you need at least 5 National 5s at grade B or above, and they need to include maths, English and a science subject. And if you've done a subject not on the list, just get in touch with us and we can get it added. So then we're going to move on to the placement details section, just here, where you enter the dates you're available to carry out your placement. In Scotland, some of these may be in June during the end of term, as I said, so you may wish to include that in this section. So the in-person section of the placement is 2 to 3 weeks rather than 4, so don't worry so much about the bit there that says it needs to be 4 consecutive weeks. We'll find all successful candidates placements, but if you do have any suggestions of potential placement hosts, that are people you know or somewhere or someone you'd like to work with, you can put that in this section here. But as I say, don't worry if you don't have anything to add here, we're going to find everyone a placement host. In this section, you also include any extracurricular activities that you take part in already, such as a Young STEM Leader programme or a Crest Award. And finally, in this section, you're asked to enter the subjects you're interested in. So alongside the more expected ones in the STEM acronym, there's also earth science, computing, social science, data science, loads of different things in a wee drop-down menu. And you're asked to enter 4 choices from the drop-down menu of subjects. And there's also space to add subjects that you're interested in that are not included in the menu as well. So Nuffield encompasses a broad range of different placements. And we'll try to match you to a placement that fits the interests that you indicate in this section. But every placement encompasses loads of different transferable skills, and previous students have enjoyed completing placements that were not necessarily in their usual comfort zone, as it then allows them to learn about new topics. So then comes one of the main sections of the application, the personal statement. So this is where you can tell us exactly why you want to do an Nuffield research placement. You can tell us how it would benefit you and also what you could bring to the programme, such as any qualities or skills that you have that you think would help you to succeed in the project. And I'll come on to some more hints and tips for the statement later on today. So once you've done that, you can put in an application for the £200 bursary that I mentioned at the start if you meet one of these 4 criteria here. Again, either that you've lived in local authority care, so your care experience, that you come from a family with a combined household income of below £30,000 a year, that you're entitled to free school meals now or at any time in the last 6 years, or that you're entitled to discretionary payments at your school or college. So then you can put in an application for the £200 bursary and that'll get sent away. And then you need to nominate a teacher to provide a reference for you. So this doesn't necessarily have to be the teacher that's coordinating the Nuffield research programme at your school, but we recommend it's someone that knows you well. So maybe it's a teacher of the subject you're most interested in, or a teacher that's known you for a really long time while you've been at school. So you need to discuss it with them first, and once they've said that they're happy to do a reference for you, you can pop in their name and contact details into the form. And then as soon as you've done that, a message is sent away to that teacher from the Nuffield application system, and that invites them to supply a reference for you. And so teachers, what should that reference look like? So we're looking for something quite concise, so it only needs to be really a couple of paragraphs long, and a really successful reference will demonstrate that the student's got a really good work ethic and that they're going to be determined to complete the placement, that the placement is really going to benefit the student, and also maybe that there's an interest in promoting STEM within your school as well. So then there's just a last few details that you need to submit before you're done. You need to be given permission from a parent or guardian to participate in the programme. So there's a form in this section on the website that you can you print it out, you get your parent or guardian to sign it off, and then you can upload it to the website again, either just by taking a picture of it or scanning it in. There's a few consent boxes for you to review as well. It's stuff like sharing your data with us. And once you've done all that, that is your application ready to go and you can submit it. So once you hit submit, that lets myself and the team at CERC know that you're ready for us to review the application. We will review it and read through your personal statement and your reference. And if we decide to accept you onto the programme, we will match you with a placement provider based on what you submit to us. So the 30th of March is the absolute last deadline for submitting applications, but I really would recommend aiming for at least the day before, if not even a wee bit before that, just to account for any IT failure or anything like that that might happen at the last minute. Okay, so that is everything that you're going to need to do to submit an NRP application. Before you rush off to do so, though, I've got some hints and tips on how you can make your application really polished and more likely to be successful. So in your personal statement, try to be really concise. I'd recommend not going over 500 words, and read over your work once you've written it and try and see if there's any unnecessary words in your sentences, or if there are shorter or clearer ways of saying things. Think about what you want to say in your statement before you get started. Maybe make some bullet points of the things that you want to include, or write some notes or a draft version first. And then this is going to really ensure that you don't miss any of your achievements. And then it means that you can reorder your notes or bullet points to make your statement flow really nicely. And then you can come back and tweak your statement as many times as you like before you hit the submit button, so you can keep editing it and polishing it as you go. Definitely try and make the most of your interests and experiences in your statement. So have you done well in a school competition? Make sure to get that included. Do you like watching science documentaries? Let us know about that. Did you get a lot out of a school trip to a science centre or a museum? What inspired you there? Our definition of STEM is really broad, so anything science related that you've been involved with is definitely great to include in this section. Okie dokie, so now we're going to move on to a quick wee activity on Mentimeter to get you thinking more about what's going to make a good personal statement, and see if you can have a look at this one here. So to join Mentimeter, either scan that QR code on the slide there, you can click the link above the QR code, or you can go to menti.com and type in the number below the QR code. There's loads of different ways to join. So I'll give you a minute to do that before we get going with the first question. If someone can let me know if they have managed to access the Menti, that would be really great. Yeah, we got some thumbs up there. Fantastic. That's really good. Great, you're all on it. Fantastic. Okay. So then, if everyone can see that first question, have a read through this wee extract here, example 1 in the speech bubble, and see if you can think of 3 positives that you think about it, 3 positive things that you like about this statement, and see if you can pop them in Mentimeter there. So they can be words or wee phrases of things that you think are good about this statement, and pop them into Mentimeter. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that.
So hopefully you can see that.
Yes, I can see that. That's perfect. So there's loads of different things here. So the ones that are coming out most are mentioning experiments, that they find science interesting, that they've got future plans to pursue science. So that's great. Those are definitely all really good things that you could think about including in your personal statement. What you enjoy in school, that they like learning genetics, mentioning specific topics of interest, or specific careers that they might like to do in the future. So that's really great. There were definitely loads of positive things about that statement 1. So I'll just go back to that statement again now so we can do the next part of the question. Okay, I think it's decided to go back to start. No, there we go. Okay. So have a look over that statement again then, and then hopefully Aileen can move on the Mentimeter, and we're thinking now maybe about some of the negative points of that statement. So have a read through it, and if there's anything that maybe if this was you proofreading it for a pal, you would maybe recommend that they could do with a wee bit of improvement. So maybe something to do with the content, or again the way they've expressed themselves, that sort of thing. Here we go. Okay, so one that's really coming out in this one is spelling, absolutely. So I would definitely recommend with your personal statement, get someone to proofread it, because I know myself, when you've written something yourself, you don't always see all the typos, but when someone else reads it, they'll just pick up on those extra things. And spelling and grammar, when it's done properly, it's going to make your personal statement much, much better. Repetition and mistakes, yeah, absolutely. What else have we got here? Yeah, punctuation. So yeah, it's really a case of a good bit of proofreading is going to improve this one massively. And repetition, use of informal language, yep, making sure that it's going to be really professional, and it's going to be really concise as well. So because you've only got a maximum of really 500 words, so you don't want to end up repeating yourself, because I'm sure there's loads of information that you're going to want to get in there. So yeah, perfect, absolutely. So now I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint. Resume with this slide, and hopefully now you can see a second example, example 2. So we're going to do the same thing again, have a wee read through that, and then Menti should move on to ask you for negative points of example 2. So again, look for some of the same criteria. What's the spelling like? What's the grammar like? What's the content like? Do they seem keen to do the Nuffield placement? Have they said what they're going to bring to it? Have a wee look and see what you think. Great, so positive things that have come out of this one is they said they're interested in science club. So it's definitely really good to put in any extracurricular activities that you do that are to do with STEM, especially if it's something that you enjoy and have done for a while. Yep, so absolutely extracurricular activities, they're interested in STEM, keen to learn more. Yep, definitely, absolutely good spelling. Yep, so they've possibly had someone to proofread it. Absolutely, so there's definitely some positive points to this one, but it's definitely by no means perfect. So again, I'm gonna pop it back up again, and this time Aileen will move on to the next question, which is going to be the negative points of example 2 here. So have a read through it. If this was your pal that had written this, what would you suggest to them that they could improve about this statement? What are the kind of negative points that maybe could do with a bit of a rework?
Still coming in.
Yes, so they are. So lots of things coming in there. It's pretty vague, it's pretty undecisive. So I would say one of the main things that you want to include as your statement is that you're really dedicated to STEM, and it's definitely something that you're going to want to improve in the future, something that you're interested in. And statement 2, it by no means does that. It's very vague. They're not really sure if they're interested in STEM or not. They could definitely show that they were a bit more passionate. It's not very positive overall, is it? So yeah, they're a bit undecided. Yeah, definitely. Okie dokie. And then finally then, I will go back to this one last time. Have a look at these statements here, and Aileen should move on the Mentimeter to just a wee vote. Out of these 2 statements, which one do you prefer? So a wee vote, I'll just give you a wee second to do that, because hopefully you've already had a good look at both of the statements. Cool, okay, so yeah, there was definitely good points to example 2, including the extracurricular with the science club, but I would say example 1 possibly does have more positive points. Example 2 is pretty undecided if they really like science or not, whereas example 1, they talk about lots of things that they're interested in. So whilst it's maybe not got the best spelling or grammar, the content on that one is a bit more certain. So yeah, but there was really good voting there. So I will go back to in fact, I don't really need to go back to my slide. The next question then for you guys, last Mentimeter question that we're going to do is, what kind of positive words or statements do you think that you could include within your personal statement that's going to make it really stand out, and it's going to show that you're really enthusiastic about the subject that you're interested in? So are there any things that you think that you could include in your statement that are just really good words and phrases that are going to make you look really keen and enthusiastic. So pop those in. I'll just give you a minute to do that. Excellent. So what we've got here, the biggest one that's come out is passionate. Yeah, absolutely. That's going to make you seem like you're really enthusiastic about science or your subject. Dedicated, inspired. Yeah, if you can share some of the reasons that you are inspired to follow science, that would definitely be great. Extracurricular activities, definitely. Teamwork, yeah, absolutely. You're going to be working within a research team when you're doing this, so being able to work really successfully in a team is going to see you really well. Hardworking, committed, excited, yeah, absolutely. It is a really great opportunity. So if it's something that you're excited to do, then that's definitely something that you should be able to show in your statement. Yep, Crest Award, extracurricular activities, fascinated, keen interest. Yeah, absolutely. There's loads of great things there that you'd be able to include in your personal statements. So you guys have definitely come up with some great suggestions. Okie dokie. So hopefully that's got you thinking a bit more about your personal statement and what you're going to include in your application. So we're going to move on now. I'm going to pass over to one of our previous Nuffield alumni, Sarah. She, as I said, did her placement last year with the University of Strathclyde, looking at COVID misinformation on Twitter. So I will pass over to her and she's going to tell you a bit about her experiences of completing a Nuffield research placement.
Hi, my name's Sarah and I completed a Nuffield research project last year with the University of Strathclyde. As you could probably tell from the poster, it was called What Characterises COVID-19 Misinformation on Twitter, and it was a computing project. So I had to create a machine learning model that would classify tweets into tweets containing true content and tweets that contained false content. My project related very well to current issues, as COVID-19 information is still very prevalent, so this project really helped me to educate myself on the pandemic. At first glance at the poster, you probably thought, what does all this mean? And I'll be honest with you, I was exactly the same. Before my project, I'd never used Python before. I did do NatPy computing, but I hadn't taken it to higher, so I didn't have the level of coding knowledge that I needed. But I was put through a Python training course with other people who were doing other projects that were computing related. So that did teach me the basics. It was very insightful, and I was with pupils from all over the UK, so that was pretty cool as well. You don't jump straight into your placement. Like Laura said, there's a range of modules that you complete before the placement, and they cover things like identifying reliable sources, how to structure your time wisely, and how to analyse data on different software like Excel. So a variety of different skills that you'll use not only when you move on to university, but when you move into the workplace as well. And most of the work that you get is independent. It's not like school, you're not told what you can and can't do. You do have the freedom to explore. And the way it worked for me was they gave me a data set and I had the freedom to explore it any way I wanted to. I won't lie, it can be challenging at times, and something I really regret not doing was asking for help sooner. I did waste a lot of time contemplating whether or not I should ask for help, but take it from me, your supervisors are super friendly and they will be more than happy to help you, so don't be scared. In terms of where I'm at now, I'm in 6th year and I'm in the process of writing a dissertation for Advanced Higher English. And although computing and English don't directly relate, the placement I completed has helped me with essential things such as deconstructing chunks of information, identifying reliable sources, and it's also taught me how to properly reference sources, which is something I didn't think I'd ever need to do, but it has proven to be really useful. It's also helped me with my time management. One of the methods I was taught during this was timetabling, and I'm a huge procrastinator, and I have to say it has helped me stop procrastinating. There are lots of opportunities after the placement, and two that I went for were the Crest Award, and there was also a 6 poster prize. I entered the competition thinking I didn't have a chance of winning, but I actually ended up winning, which was really good, and it's something I did mention in my personal statement for university. I also mentioned a whole paragraph dedicated to the Nuffield placement and everything it taught me, and so far I've got 2 unconditional offers, so it really does give you a chance to show off and impress admissions tutors. And even if you don't plan on studying a science, you will learn transferable skills, and it's amazing how quickly you think you can pick things up. If I was to give you any advice for the applications, I'd say be yourself and really show your enthusiasm. And if you don't get on a placement, I think you might still have access to the modules. So I'd recommend going through them because I really found them helpful. So yeah, this is definitely a great opportunity and I wish you all the best of luck. And if you are successful, have fun. Thank you, and I'll pass you back over to Laura.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sarah. It's really great to be able to hear firsthand the experiences that you had, and it's really great that they were so beneficial to you. Okie dokie, so last but not least, I'm going to hand over to Graham Ruff, who was previously head of physics at Wallace High School and coordinated the Nuffield research placement applications there. He's now head of STEM programmes at CERC, and he's just going to give you a bit of an insight from a teacher's perspective on the Nuffield research placements.
Thanks, Laura, and a special thank you to Sarah as well. That's an incredible story, Sarah, so thanks for sharing that with us. Laura's very generous because she gives me the really easy bit with this, and she gives me 5 minutes just to talk about some hints and tips and anecdotes, anecdotal information about how I, ran Nuffield when I was at Wallace High. Really just to sort of say, we do appreciate and understand just how crazy life and work and school is just now. So whether you're a student currently in school or whether you're a teacher, we know that life's pretty crazy right now, and just try your best to make this easy. What I would suggest is bring our deadlines forward a little bit at your end as well, because obviously there's tight timelines that Laura and Aileen have deadlines here for submissions, etc. And I would say take those deadlines and pull them forward a wee bit as well to create some breathing space and flexibility within your school. Get the modules done early as well. Sarah again hinted at those, do them, and it's not about getting them out the way, it's certainly not. It's just about having that first milestone complete within the application process as well. Get information out to students if you're a teacher early as well. So, we're already in the middle of January, and I would say try to get stuff out among the school, whether you've got a tannoy system, assemblies, etc., and don't do it all yourself as well. Quite often programs in schools are led by one person, and I would go around and I would speak to other STEM teachers or not STEM teachers in the school and ask for their support as well. Think about the impact if, let's say, you're a maths teacher. Imagine the impact if you stood up and you did an S5 assembly next week, but you were standing beside a computer and science teacher, a physics and a chemistry teacher, and maybe a pupil support teacher. It shows that you as a school, as a group, collectively are, buying into the idea of STEM. So get some extra help from people and don't take it all on yourself. It is a really good development and leadership opportunity for you as a teacher as well. And also that brilliant thing that you'll get to work with young people who you probably don't teach, or you maybe haven't taught for a wee while as well. And that takes me back to the point of picking up support from other teachers. So let's say, for example, going back to Sarah, I'm a physics teacher. Maybe I hadn't taught Sarah since S2 and she didn't choose physics. Well, actually, I might not be the best person to write her reference then, and I would go to the computing studies department and actually say, look, would you help me? Would you work with me on this? In fact, would you write the reference for this young person, because you must know her better than I do. And I would definitely try and share the load with writing the references as well. There's not a lot to do in terms of the references, so it's not like doing the UCAS references where sometimes you're thinking, oh my god, what have I done here? There's not a lot of content and text required, so it is quite easy to do that. But support that young person as much as you can, and if that means asking somebody who knows them better than you to write the reference, then do that. I would definitely streamline school assemblies and communications as well. After my first year, I stopped doing a whole year group assembly to the S5s because there was probably only 5 or 6 young people who would apply from, and I worked in quite a large school. So really I was just doing a S5 assembly to 150 people, and there was only 5 or 6 interested. So I actually try and streamline and filter out from the start, and then do a small group assembly, or even get them to come to your room and do a lunchtime chat rather than an assembly. If you've got a good relationship with the other schools, please do that as well. We were quite lucky in Stirling. We had really good relationships with the other schools around us. And we are more than willing to come and work with you and meet your young people, but make it worth our while. So try and pull in interested students from other schools in the area, and then that way we can have a really rich and impactful session with them to talk further about that as well. In terms of dates as well, we would hope to sort of start placements. You know, the working week starts on a Monday typically, but we are going to work to start placements on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and it just gives us that day of prep beforehand rather than trying to do things on a Sunday when the inevitable loose ends need tied up. It's harder to do it on a Sunday. And on that note as well, if you can work with us to start placements before the summer holidays start, again, it's so much easier to contact you as the sort of CERC Nuffield link in your school if we can start placements before young people go off on their summer holidays. And I think we all know that S6 advanced higher classes, etc., before summer are nothing like the class come August. So there is sometimes a wee bit of freedom there in the timetable and stuff to get people out on their placement early. And it means they don't need to give it up as much of their well-earned summer holiday as they would as well, because let's face it, they've just sat their higher exams. So so that's really it. I'm happy to answer any further questions later on, or you can email me. I am not an expert in Nuffield. I did it for a few years before I left and came to work at CERC, but I know the process and I know how busy it is in schools as well. But trust me, you're giving your young people an amazing opportunity, and Syra is our advocate there for that programme. So thanks very much, everybody, and I wish you luck if you do apply to the students, and we will support you, students and teachers, through the process.
Fantastic, thank you so much, Graham. I'll just come back to my slides. Yeah, so really it's just to finish up there. If anyone needs any more information or they want to start their applications, head on over to the Nuffield Research Placements website, just on the slide there, nuffieldresearchplacements.org. And if you've got any questions about anything at all, we'll have a Q&A in just a second, but if you think of something later on, you can contact me. I'm coordinating Nuffield's research programme at CERC, and you can get me at nuffieldresearchplacements@cerc.scot. So I will stop presenting there, and if anyone's got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, or you can stick your camera microphone on and ask. I see one there about the slides being emailed out. Yep, we have a recording of the session, which I'll email out to everyone on our Eventbrite list after the session, so you'll get all that information again. Yes, Rana, you've got your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, for the qualifications that are already achieved, our school does a 2-year course, so I wouldn't have done National 5, just 2-year course of higher. So I'm doing higher now, and I did higher in S4, so I wouldn't have done National 5.
Phone on. Oh, there we go. Right, that's a really good question, and I'm not sure of the answer off the top of my head. Does either Eileen or Graham have an answer to that?
I would be tempted to put the higher subjects at National 5 and in your personal statement write that you're actually doing the 2-year course, just so that you can actually log them in the application to let you move to the next stage. But within your personal statement, please state that you are doing the 2-year higher, and that will help us. But it certainly will not penalise you with your applications in that sense.
Oh,
yeah, I would add that, Rana. That's great advice from Aileen. It would also be within the narrative if you can ask your teacher for your working and your predicted grades for the higher. So obviously you don't have a final result for your Nat 5 because you're doing the 2-year higher. So ask if your teacher can give you a current working grade and a predicted grade for your higher, and that would be really helpful to put in the content as well.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant, thanks for that advice. Yeah, Rana, it's definitely not something that would penalise you, and I would definitely encourage you to apply, and it's something that we can definitely work around. Was there another question in the chat?
There's one from Asim that's asking.
Oh yeah. It was about the poster competition. What else is involved within the placement? Is it an actual lab environment report? Yeah, so that's a really good question. Because the placements are so varied, it might be a lab environment, but it could be loads of different things. There was some field work we had earlier, that sort of thing. So that would really be up to the kind of subjects that you put as your interest. You might end up in industry and more of a corporate environment. In terms of the report, it's a scientific report, so it would be structured a bit like what you do in school with your aims, methods, all that sort of thing. And your placement host can provide you with some support to complete that. And we've got some templates like the poster templates for you to fill that out as well. So there's definitely support whilst you fill out the report. Another question in the chat.
And Belle is saying you would be disadvantaged if you don't plan to study a science at university. Not necessarily, no. It's more what your aims and ambitions are and where you want to take it. I would say in your personal statement, you explain the reasons of what you're wanting to study and what you want to do. That's the important thing. But obviously, anything relating to STEM would be beneficial, but we're not going to disadvantage you as such. Yeah. Don't know if Graham's got anything to add to that.
In terms of Answer's question about the predicted grades.
No, about Belle's question saying disadvantaged if they don't plan to study a science at university.
I don't expect it would. The very wide context of STEM, I think, is part of what we're trying to do at CERC. So that's all I would add. In terms of moving on to Answer's question, I think the predicted grades would only have an impact on the application if they were predicted to not achieve. But again, I don't know if Laura and Aileen would add to that. Obviously, the application process Answer takes place before you've actually sat your final exams, so there is a bit of guesswork in there as well. So predicted grades are all everybody's got to go on, so they are important. And I guess I'd ask Laura and Aileen to come back in, but if the predicted grades were you were being predicted not to achieve, then that's when it would probably impact you. I hope it's not the case.
Yeah, I would echo that. I mean, obviously, passion and enthusiasm and inspiration is really important as well, but we need to know that you're going to achieve a certain level because the projects will be quite demanding. You know, it's a certain level of competence you will require to do the project. So if the predicted grades aren't what would be expected, then you might struggle to do the project. We want you to make sure that you get the most out of the project and that the provider that's providing the project has a worthwhile experience with you. So we want to make sure everybody gets something out of actually doing a Nuffield research placement.
Yeah, that's what I would echo as well. The projects are meant to stretch you, they're meant to challenge you. So if you would be predicted not to achieve it in the kind of STEM related subjects, then that would be something that would then kind of be taken into account. Does anyone have any other questions at all? I don't think I saw any else in the chat.
I would just add a thank you to Miss Hendry from St Andrews. We know Jodie well. Thank you for that contribution. That's really helpful. Miss Hendry there, going back to Rana's question. So thanks for that, Miss Hendry.
I think just a couple of things I want to point out is it's not work experience. It's a research project and it's a problem that maybe industry or a university has that they don't have time to solve themselves, or they think would be a really good opportunity for a young person to investigate. So it's not work shadowing. You're not going into a working environment to watch what somebody's doing. You will actually be given a real live problem or investigative procedure that you're looking into, and I think that is invaluable. I myself am an electronic engineer, but I did my degree 30 years ago. And if I'd had an opportunity like this, I would have been absolutely loved it because it would really have helped me when I moved to university to do engineering. So I can only endorse how fantastic these are.
Absolutely agree, and that's a really important message. It's not work experience. We're not criticising work experience, certainly not, but this is not work experience. It's a research placement. You're going to a university, you're going into a laboratory, or you're going into a technician, room. You're going into industry to work with engineers and a whole range of other things. And Laura earlier on mentioned, for example, the Roslin Institute, and you'll be doing proper STEM research. So yeah, that's really important to point out as well.
Cool. Yep, definitely. There's some good points there. I don't see any other questions, so I think we'll probably just wrap up there. So thank you so much to Saira for coming and sharing your experience, and to Graham and Aileen as well for their inputs. And thank you all for your participation in the Menti, and some fantastic questions there. If you think of any other questions at all, as I say, just you can get me. I'll send out an email after this to everyone that was on the Eventbrite, so you'll have my contact details, and any questions you think of at all, just get me on that that email address there. So yeah, we'll wrap up there. Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you. Nice to see everyone, virtually, of course.